What up? What up? What up? Welcome to the Beefy Boys Breakdown. We got a little Monday night episode going in. I think it's episode 125, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir.
We're going over UFC 287, Pereira versus Adesanya 2, or in parentheses, if you know, you know. Um, and yeah, you know, we're going to try something a little different this week. Usually we start at the early prelims and work our way all the way through the card, the same order that we watch the fights. And we like doing that, but this week we're doing something a little different. We're going to kind of work backwards. We're going to reverse engineer this card, if you will. We're going to start at the main event and work our way back to the early prelims. I'm looking forward to switching it up. There's a lot of reasons why. Part of it's scheduling. Part of it is who the fuck doesn't want to talk to Izzy Pereira. Part of it is also we've been doing things so long one certain way, and it's kind of like the whole do the same thing, expect different results is insanity. So we're just trying something different, mixing it up. Let us know in the comments. Let us know if you like the old way we did it. If you're feeling the new format, just give us a little feedback. And man, Izzy Pereira 2/4. I mean, I heard like Chael's ass was talking about, oh, nobody asked for this rematch. Dude, I've been waiting for months for this.
See, my thing is like, if you, and dude, you know what's crazy? Is on the franchise, shout out to 107.7. Is that a Topo Chico Tallboy?
Vizzy. I wish. They were out of Topos. They were out of Topos.
Thought we were on the same vibes. I want to give a quick shout out to the franchise, though, because I was driving home from work Friday night, I think it was, at like midnight, and they were just doing all UFC talk, like betting, UFC betting talk. And I was hyped on that because one thing that the guy brought up that I was a big like believer in is that if you think about it, Adesanya's been the favorite in like every fight they've had, kickboxing or MMA. Obviously hasn't won one of those. But if you look at the decision loss he has in kickboxing, I scored that like fight for him. If you've gone back and watched it, a lot of people do.
Joe is pretty vocal about that opinion.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of crazy to score it for like Poatan in their kickboxing fight. It was like
I'll be completely honest. I never watched it, so I'll take your word for it.
And then in the KO, he drops Pereira in that fight. Pereira gets back up with the standing 10. Obviously, they give him a standing 10, which is crazy. Like save him, and then he knocks out Izzy. And then
all that difference from the first UFC fight. If you think not a standing 10, but saved by the bell.
Right, like, it's the same. Yeah.
Poatan's recovery is pretty next level. Like
he doesn't show damage. Like when he gets like super rocked, even in this fight, you wouldn't know it.
Like he doesn't cut easily. Like I don't think we've ever seen him bleed. Like,
no, I've never seen him bleed. Right, and so like, which is crazy to think he has all that scar tissue. He has to from all the fights he's had. Let me close this door for my dog real fast. But biggest point here is that in the first MMA fight they have, Izzy wins 3.5 out of 4.5 rounds. If you think about it, like Poatan maybe wins one round out of 3.5, which like.
Yeah, Glover had come out with Glover Teixeira, UFC future Hall of Famer, also Alex Pereira's coach, has come out and I'm not sure if Harrison can hear me right now. But I was just saying how Glover was coming out like in the build up to this fight, talking about in the first fight, he was essentially pissed at Alex for like just not stepping on the gas for like letting those rounds slip away. Like he said pretty much in the first fight, Pereira like didn't follow their game plan at all, and like he was like not stoked on his performance.
Which is funny because Izzy kind of said the same thing in his lead up to the fight, which was that I always get him on death's doorstep, and then I let him survive, and he comes back and he finishes me. And he was like, I just have to go out there and finish him. And so I kind of felt like both guys were going to have a more like foot on the gas approach to this fight.
I feel like they did, honestly. Like sometimes, so many fights, it's like all talk, and then you know the fight starts, and it doesn't go necessarily how the hype talk goes. But Alex 1,000% had way more forward pressure, especially early, than he did early in the first fight. And then Adesanya was definitely putting more heat on his punches. Like Adesanya, we saw the old Adesanya that made us fall in love with Adesanya.
That's what I was going to say. We saw a guy willing to take risks, willing to be hit to give a hit.
Which when Izzy is willing to get hit, he's awesome. I mean, the Whitaker fight. I mean, the Gastelum fight. The fights that Whitaker won, obviously. These are the fights that made us fall in love with Izzy.
If you think about it,
Pereira before Pereira, he had it was 2 years to a title instead of one, but he was fast tracked. He was hyped. I think the Whitaker fight was like his third fight in the promotion, which is insane.
I think you know what I think is the most attractive feature of a UFC fighter. Now that I'm like starting to put it together, is being able to stand in the pocket, narrowly avoid shots, and land huge counter bombs. Like, because you think about like
Or
Connor,
even eat a couple
Dustin,
shots, like
Adesanya, like
like
all the most entertaining guys are willing to sit in there and trade shots, and they're just good enough to like slide off that center and not eat your power shot while they land theirs. That's how it seems to be at the highest level, right? Of strikers, is that like it's just who clips who harder first when they're like at this level of striking. Like these guys, either one can put each other out. It's just who makes that first mistake.
Yeah, and I'll be real. I bet Alex Pereira. You bet Izzy. You had like kind of a hedge parlay where you had Pereira, but you were pretty much picking riding with Izzy. And one of your good points you brought up earlier in the week when we were kind of discussing our bets and how we saw it playing out was you were like, all right, bro, fights have pretty much been a coin flip. Like the coin ain't gonna land on the same side 4 times in a row. Like you're saying, like they're just so close. And I saw it the other way around. Like just like talking about like our rhetoric going into this was like my rhetoric was, well, they're gonna kickbox, right? Like it's not like Izzy's gonna bust out the old singlet and go Bo Nickel on him. So I was like, they're gonna be kickboxing, and we know who at kickboxing. So those were kind of the two approaches, like the two ways of viewing this fight. And in a way, we kind of both were right. Obviously, you were ultimately right in the end, but like Pereira definitely won round one, right? And
Oh wait, what?
Pereira won round one.
No.
I thought he was marching him down and outstriking him. I mean, he on the numbers he outstruck him. He was beating the fuck out of that leg. And he landed up.
Every judge and me scored it for Izzy.
So this is also a little clarifier. I don't have notes for my main card, but I also like wasn't fucked up, and I remember it pretty well. Like Alex Pereira was walking forward, he was destroying Izzy's leg, and he landed one of his left hand nukes, which like I don't know if I want to go as far as to say wobbled Izzy, but it was visibly
it got him alert. Like he was like, "Oh
hard.
fuck! Like I got to get out of the way of this." The leg kicks were hurting him.
He was cracking back, but I don't know, bro. I like Pereira's working one, but I was also biased. I bet Pereira, and I also didn't take notes.
So I mean, you're super right about everything you said. I have notes, but you're exactly right. So like, I have it super competitive round. Pereira was working super hard for the low kicks to sap Izzy's leg.
They were working, bro.
Izzy was aware of it.
Just like the first fight.
And like Izzy was dodging probably half of them, but Pereira was throwing a bunch. And dude, they talk about it after the fight in the backstage, but like Izzy asked him, like, I need to learn how to do that little low kick thing you're doing, because Pereira, I guess what he's able to do is get his lead leg forward and then just do this little like step in leg kick where you can't read the kick. Like it doesn't come from his hip, it comes from his knee. So when you're trying to read the kick, you can't. That's what Izzy was trying to say to him, is like, however you do that little shoot kick, like I need to know how to do that.
That's so dope. That's like Joe Burrow coming up to Patrick Mahomes, like, hey, how do you release that? Or like just elite pitches, like just game recognized game, just like the highest level of really any sport.
Now that being said, Izzy was landing better punches to the body and better kicks to the body. He was landing big kicks to the body, probably 2 or 3. And he was headhunting slightly more, which so like it. And here's how I wrote the end of the round. Right, I like Izzy's working round one, but really there's a good case for either guy. It's just what you like. That's literally how I wrote my round.
You know that all 3 judges gave it to Izzy.
I thought that was too. I think honestly that someone should have scored it for Pereira. I think it's that close of a round.
Yeah, and I'm glad I kind of laid out the case, for the pod's sake, and like I said, and I don't know, maybe I was slightly influenced because like I heard all the talk all week about how Glover's saying he wanted Alex to march forward, and in round one he was marching forward and like accomplishing what him and his coach like wanted him to accomplish. So it's hard for me to not like count that as a win. Like it's even like in military operations, it's not always like who kills more of who. It's like you can set out to like accomplish what you were trying to accomplish. Like I don't know, like it's like Izzy may have won the damage battle. You're probably right there, maybe, but like just me knowing that like Alex did exactly what Alex was trying to do, maybe it influenced how I saw round one.
No, I totally get it, right? Because it's like the money in the bank strategy of like those leg kicks are gonna like win him rounds 4 and 5, but I don't think they won him round 1. But it's like a weird scoring system. You know what I mean? Because like the damage is obviously occurring in round 1, but I'm not seeing it work in the fight until 4 and 5. So that's whenever in 4 and 5, that's whenever like you know what I'm saying? Like you'll give it credit whenever you see that leg kick in round 4 land that like wobbles their leg and they can't walk right, and it's like, well, that's from all the kicks in rounds 1, 2, 3. It's not that one kick in 4.
And then I had the context in the back of my head as well. It's like after the first fight, a lot of the talk, both from Izzy and from pundits, was how beat up Izzy's legs were and how that impacted the later rounds. So yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of like
he openly talked about how like Pereira was chopping his leg up and it was like a problem for him.
Yeah. So they said all of that kind of context and things floating around in the back of my mind kind of influenced how I saw it. But keeping it pushing to round 2, I'll lead with this. We do get a finish in round 2, and honestly, if you would have told me, in Vegas agrees, like the under had to be crazy, and I bet the under was set at probably 4.5 rounds. I didn't look at the exact prop, but it's most likely 4.5.
I have best fight odds here. We can see what Caesars is offering, and I'm gonna just guess right now, that if you took under 3.5, I bet you got plus 180, and I bet if you took under 4.5, you got like plus 120.
Plus 200. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see.
What I'm getting at is here, I don't think anybody saw an early finish. Now, granted, Izzy did predict an early finish, but it kind of came across as like hype talk, like working, promoting a fight, which I'm here for. I'm not saying it's bad, but I don't know if in his heart of hearts he really thought he was just going to get Pereira out of there in 2.
Oh, this is one of those ones they had hidden down here. They, for some reason, put this in future fights. Okay, here we go. Where are we at? Over, under. Let me get a repeatable betting site. Let's see if FanDuel has it. Yeah, FanDuel does. Okay. So FanDuel was offering over under 4.5 rounds. They were giving you over 4.5 at plus 110 and under 4.5 at minus 135.
Okay, but so under 4.5 and under 2 or under 3.
Yeah, under 2.5.
Very different lines.
Yeah, like I mean, if you're gonna look at under 2.5, it looks like it's plus 105. No, I'm sorry, under 3.5 is plus 105. Under 2.5 is plus 160. So you would have got plus 160 for this. Still not as good as I think it should be.
What time did this knockout take place? I thought it was late in the round.
4 minutes, 21 seconds, but it's still the second round, so it's under 2.5.
It's under 2.5. You're right. Yeah.
Almost under 1.5.
Early finish.
It's close to almost under 1.5.
And conventional wisdom will probably tell you if this fight ends in the second round, it's probably Pereira doing it, right? I mean, just conventional.
I don't know. Izzy rocks him early every fight, actually. Pereira always finishes him late. Never finishes him early.
Good point. But Pereira does have at least the perceived power advantage.
Yeah. Well, you saw it,
and
right?
The size
I thought
advantage.
when he landed the knee to the head on the fence in the final sequence of the fight, because, I mean, if we want to break down the round, right, the first 2 minutes kind of resemble the first round, I thought. Same kind of aesthetic. And then both guys kind of start to open up a little bit. Pereira starts to come forward
open
a little
up
harder.
A lot.
He, like, gets a little too confident, I thought, and kind of starts to walk Izzy down a little too much.
Yeah, no, 1,000%. And this is cliche, but like somebody was getting finished in that like 20-second sequence.
Yeah,
because like
Pereira was going for it on the cage, like fully going for it.
And this is going to sound like woulda, coulda, shoulda talk, and I guess by definition it is. But like, if Izzy whiffs that right hand, he gets finished.
Yeah, 100%.
That first right doesn't land as flush as it does. Maybe even if it lands glancing, like if it doesn't rock Pereira's shit. Like, if it doesn't separate him from consciousness, Pereira had him, like, Pereira was teeing off. Those shots to the body were insane.
Well, the knee to the head to start the sequence was big, too. Like, he landed that knee on the head.
And people are saying, like, oh, it didn't land that hard. I'm like,
it's a knee on the head.
Pereira's
Like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. From a 6'5", 200-pound kickboxer, you're going to tell me it didn't land hard? Fuck out of here.
Right, like, you can tell me Izzy rolled with it. We can say that.
And it could have landed harder.
Yeah.
To say, like, it wasn't a damaging blow. Get out of here.
And then the left to the body was big, too.
I think there was a couple to the body. The left was the big one that started. But, like, yeah, no, those were huge. I was like, I was on the edge of my seat, like, quite literally. Like, when he started landing those shots to the body, I did one of these numbers.
Bro, have you seen the zoomed out video of his kid? It's so fucked up. It's like
well, I knew the whole Izzy mocking the kid situation, which I honestly wasn't the biggest fan of.
I kind of loved it because his kids did it to Izzy in the ring after the
the kid was 6.
Well, you know what? Hard lessons are taught early. Hey, I'm not here for a 100 gender society, all right?
Hey, I'll take what Izzy did to the kid over what the Dalai Lama did to the kid. But
yeah, facts. So in the video of it, it's just so great though because his whole family, like as soon as he lands on knee and starts sequence, like they jump up, they're super hype. Me at home, I thought
Pereira was about to knock out Izzy. Like
it's the moment where you know the fight's about to end, essentially, and you don't know how, and you don't know who's going to end it. But you're like, this sequence is too violent. They're too tight on the cage. Like there's no space to move left or right. They're just gonna have to swing their way out of it.
Yeah.
Now,
which is rare that you see the high level guys get in those scenarios. We'll see the Sumudarjis of the world in those scenarios, but like to see Izzy and Pereira in just literally a phone booth, just duking it out essentially was wild.
Well, they had
worth
done
the
$80. They had done the sequence once or twice earlier in the fight, but would never continue it. Right? Would like throw.
But
the
it
one
was
or
always
two,
like, yeah, exactly.
And then they would
exactly.
Dip back
it wasn't
out.
Sustained.
Yeah, this one was like, well, I'm gonna throw 4, 5, and 6 here, and like whoever lands.
On so long to where we're talking fractions of seconds, but like this is gonna sound a little corny. Like it seemed like slow mo. Like when you were watching it.
Yeah,
all that hype.
It
like,
literally did. Like
it
when
was
I watched the
lifetime.
replay, it's way faster than when I watched it live because okay. So to break it down for people, Izzy gets hit with these shots we've described on the fence, shells up, rolls right goes left, rolls back to the right, eats a couple body shots, comes over the top with that hard right hook, stuns Pereira, like literally stuns him, like where he freezes him, right?
I think stuns him like. That may be too light of a term because
he like
to
froze
the second
him.
right hand, like El said, the second right hand was a glancing blow. It just kind of like skimmed the temple, and that's the one that knocked him out.
And then he hit a left on the way down too, and then the big hammer fist.
Ngannou Stipe, he hit him with that Ngannou Stipe.
It was honestly the hammer fist at the end was and. In his post interview, he said that hammer fist had everything on it. I was like, oh.
That's the Bisping back in the day.
Right. It's one of those. Like, it's a violent, like, god damn.
Yeah, and Ngannou Stipe, I'm blanking on who did it to Bisping, but legend. Yeah.
Dan Hendo.
Dan Henderson. Yes, I knew. Yes. It was one of those, though. It was one of those.
The Derek Lewis, you know what I'm saying? On
super
Curtis Blades.
Violent. God damn it. You can't blame him. I don't think it was like out of bounds.
The celebration was so lit. The arrows,
the arrows, because Poatan did the 3 arrows on the way out, and then he hit him with 4 afterwards.
Hit him with 3,
like that. 3 to match it.
Yeah.
Will you load me one, baby?
And then he snapped the bow over his leg too to like say like it's over. No one's shooting any more arrows.
And then we were alluding to what happened with Pereira's kid. So, like, it was in their second kickboxing match, right whenever Pereira knocked out Izzy. The kid clowned Izzy and, like fake knocked out. It was kind of mocking Izzy. And so Izzy found it Pereira's kid in the crowd,
Pointing at him.
pointed at him, and then collapsed. Yeah, my wife just found out that happened. Her jaw dropped.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah,
Imagine
man,
being
it
7
was
and just getting
savage.
mocked.
Savage. I made a video today talking about how that was Izzy turning heel,
I
and like
like it.
moving forward, we're gonna see evil Izzy, which would be a lot of fun. And I think that I think Izzy would be a good heel. Like he does all the anime shit. Like animes have good guys and bad guys, and like usually in an anime, the bad guy starts off as a good guy.
Yeah, what if
So
he had to
like,
go bad to gain the power to defeat Pereira? You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
that's like the ultimate
yeah,
story.
yeah. So no more Mr. Nice Guy, which I'm here for because Nice Guy the Izzy that fought Cannonier and shit was whack. That like he
Boring.
like lost me as a fan. Like that's the fight we watched together out here in Reno, wasn't it? We were both
Yeah.
like, we're out. Like fuck buying Izzy pay per views. Like it was like, and then the second Whitaker fight was pretty lame too. Like it was just these like snoozy point
Now,
fight decisions.
speaking of
The
that, you know
Vittori fights were awful.
whose pay-per-views I'll always buy in the exact opposite, just thinking of it because I shared it, Volkanovski. Like that dude's the ideal of like a pay-per-view. Like he shows up every fucking
Every
time.
time. Whether it's Korean zombie or Islam, you get the same guy.
It's crazy.
You
Love it.
get full steam ahead Volk for sure.
How to
No,
give him that shout out.
1,000%.
Now, do you think this justifies the pound for pound rankings a little more? Because we always talk about how we think they're super fucking stupid anyway. But like,
Are we talking about Volk or Izzy?
no, Izzy. I just want to give a shout out to Volk, compliment him, you know?
I
But I
think
thought it
this
was pound
fight
for
has
pound.
a lot to do with pound for pound rankings because, and I talk about this every time I bring up pound for pound rankings. Pound for pound rankings, by definition, are a hypothetical list. So I think it's totally inbounds to use hypothetical scenarios
Yeah,
to justify the list. And everybody knows that Pereira is not really a middleweight.
correct.
So
I think he
if
beat a
you're
guy that's
talking,
bigger than him.
so that's pound for pound, right?
And what
Like
is
that's
Islam?
pound for
He's
pound.
always the bigger guy. Like
Yeah,
you could argue
no, for
Leon
sure.
isn't always the bigger guy. Volk's definitely not always the bigger guy. And John Jones is the greatest fighter of all time, and there's like literally no argument. So like we'll just leave him at number one forever, right?
Yeah, but as far as I don't know about like the rankings. Like I don't have them pulled up, but like I think if you're talking
Oh no,
about
that was 5 through 1. I just named.
is he at 5 or
Izzy's at 5, yeah. Edwards is 4. Makashev's 3. Volk's
Izzy
2.
should be over Edwards,
I think Izzy should be over Makashev, maybe
over Islam.
2. I don't know.
Yeah, you can make the argument. You can make the
Now
argument.
I think
I want
Volk
to
and
like die on the
Jones
hill.
stand alone. Of like, they both can. Maybe not Jones can't fight 205 anymore, but like so dominant, and like Volk would beat after seeing what he did with Islam. Probably beats every other 155er. Crazy to say that, but that's probably true.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean, then final comments on Izzy Pereira. I'll let you answer next for Izzy, and then I'll talk about what I want to see for Poatan.
So, in Pereira's post fight tweet, he like said like, "Yo, everyone, I want you to know I'm good." Like blah blah. Like I'm just gonna continue on the journey that's already been started and set forth for me. I think that means like that was a small allusion to I am going to continue up to 205 now that Glover has retired. Like now that
Yeah, I
Izzy
think
and I
so
have like
too.
kind of settled our thing, and like now that I beat him once here and he's like finished me in such a violent fashion, like I don't want to cut this weight anymore. It's not worth it to continue fighting the same guy. Like whatever we had is like going to stand in history as what it is. We're both champions. We can leave it as such. And like I'll go up to 205 and be a champion there. And maybe we'll rematch someday later.
Bro, and Pereira Jamal is awesome.
Oh,
Or
it's
Pereira
so
Prohaska.
good. It's
Whoever it is. Whoever it is.
They're all
Either
so
one.
good. They're all
It's
so
like those
good.
that round robin. That round robin, they all match up with each other. Nobody's bigger than anybody. They all can knock everybody the fuck out.
Well, bro, you know who won't take a fight? Apparently, is all of 185 below Izzy that won't take the Hamzat fight. It's been rumored that like 5 guys have been offered him and no one will take him.
Pretty sure Costa Hamzat's booked. Like reputable sources are coming out. And like even like I think it was MMAfighting.com. They posted, they made a tweet today confirming it, and then people were in the comments saying like, "Oh, Chael's your source," and like clowning, and they replied, they're like, "No, like we heard this from 4 or 5 reputable sources. If we only heard this from Chael, we wouldn't be posting it." So like,
I have heard they paid Costa a bag to stay.
yeah.
So like, it would make sense they're gonna make him like, hey, we're paying you a bag. Fucking guess what you get.
Yeah. No, and that would officially put Hamza in the middleweight, swimming pool, the deep end. And then Izzy is talking shit on Dricus, the whole Africa shit, which is awesome. That would be some like, if Dricus doesn't fumble the bag, if Dricus doesn't pull like a surreal gone,
well, who's Dricus
gonna not promote next? A fight at all? Fucking be Izzy. Jamal was 6 when he fought for the belt.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it, actually.
And Izzy went out of his way to kind of like drudge that up, like to create some smoke, which might turn to fire. Like Izzy was like talking shit on the whole Africa thing, which I think is just the whole.
I think Izzy
like,
would mop Dricus too.
Me too. Especially this Izzy.
Mop him.
Especially like this Izzy's not scared of Dricus, so he wouldn't fight scared. He wouldn't fight safe. It'd be awesome. I think he like it would be very reminiscent of Izzy Costa, don't you think? Doesn't that fight remind you of Izzy Costa, big muscled up, power puncher?
Okay, I have one final question for you before we move on to Jorge Masvidal and Burns, which is a great fight.
A hot take, well. I got to get out though.
Okay. My other question was Adesanya at -135. Do you think we'll ever see him at a price that low again?
Until which this segues into my next hot take, him and Poatan are done. I think him and Poatan are done at middleweight.
I agree.
I think
fully.
Poatan, big if, because I like Jamal and I like Yuri. So big if. I'm not just saying it's like shoe in, advancing to the next round. Poatan is able to capture light heavyweight gold.
And defend it once.
Once maybe
it'll need to be a part of the argument for him to allow for the UFC to be like, yeah, okay, fight a 185er, because like it's almost the same thing as Islam, like, but that 20-pound gap's going to be that's a big asking price for, I guess not, maybe for the way it sells.
Hear me out. That's like, it would be such a big fight. I don't know if the greed of Dana and the UFC could like what are they're going to book fucking Pereira Rockets just for shits and gigs as a co-main, and then like when they could, like, I'm just saying Pereira has the belt, and it's a lot of ifs. Because Hamza can take the belt off Izzy, Pereira can lose to Hill or Prohaska, so there's a lot of ifs. But say like 18 months from now, we're in a world where Pereira is 205-pound champ, Izzy's middleweight champ. I just don't think the UFC could like look the gift horse in the mouth and be like, nah, we're good on all this money. It would be bigger than Islam Volk.
I agree with you. Definitely agree with you on that. I just would say also that the caveat to that is that the 3-man race between Prohaska and Hill and Pereira, if he does go up, that's a crazy 3-man race where it's almost like you need to see them fight. So if Pereira gets first dibs on Hill and beats him, then he fights Prohaska. If Hill wins, then obviously Prohaska gets next up. So, like, I think Prohaska...
Like how those fights go down, right? Because if anybody starches anybody or makes it look easy, that'll, like, lose interest. Also, like, he's not the best on, like, promoting a fight, building it up on the mic and all that. Like, so if it's like a Gon and Ganu, like, this should be awesome, but for one reason or another, it just kind of isn't. That could throw some water on it.
But here's the thing: Yuri holds a Colby card. So not trump cards, they're Colby cards in the UFC now. By the way, he holds a Colby card, which is he gave up the belt so that it could be fought for, so that Glover could get a title while he was injured, because he could have just sat there and not relinquished it and made him do interims. So the UFC literally told everyone, because he gave it up, he gets an immediate title shot when he comes back.
No, and I'm just saying that could happen like in the 18-month window I'm talking about. But I'm saying, and if that fight sucks or if that fight doesn't sell, is there's going to be no clamoring for a rematch or
Well,
one way or the other.
I'm hoping Pereira moves up and takes the 205 fight before Prohaska's back. That would be ideal because then the winner has to fight Prohaska, which is ideal.
Jamal Hill hasn't defended the belt enough time to warrant an immediate rematch. No, I agree with all that.
Exactly.
But all right, look, that was a lot of fun. That's a whole lot of fun to talk about. But we'll keep it pushing to Burns Masvidal in Miami.
Battle
Which
for
I
King
gotta
of the
say,
305.
didn't seem sold out. I could be wrong, and I don't even know what the gate numbers won and stuff. But I saw a lot of empty seats.
It's the most celebrities I've seen in a long time. Like big names like OBJ, Joe Burrow, who's the other? Justin Jefferson, Theo Vaughn, Donald Trump, the Nelk Boys. Like, bro, there were hella Donald Cerrone, hella celebrities.
The John Jones fight brought the stars out. I can't match name for name, but I remember seeing quite a few celebrities
Honestly,
there that night.
you know what? Shout out to Masvidal and Burns, but like this was all for Izzy and Pereira. Like, do you feel like any other fight was more valuable?
No, I feel like they're both Florida guys. I bet plenty of people bought tickets to see those guys. I wouldn't go that far.
But do you think the celebrities bought the tickets, like the front row tickets? Like, who sold those tickets?
Because I think celebrities are casuals, and I think celebrities are more likely to know who George Masvidal is than Pereira, at least. Maybe not Izzy,
I was gonna say Izzy has a huge name.
No, for sure, and he's got the online.
He's like a pop culture motherfucker, you know
what
I'm saying? Like,
for sure. Which is part of why it's so dope that I have him as a champ. Like I was betting on Pereira. I loved having Pereira as a champ. But Izzy does bring that star power, that celebrity, that
and he's great on the
superstar.
mic. We didn't adjust that, but what he did say afterward on the mic was fantastic.
You know what? Better than most. It wasn't my favorite Izzy moment.
Not the best, but it was good.
He seemed a little forced. He fumbled over a couple words. I don't know. Wasn't my favorite, but better than most. Better than most for sure. To your point. Now Burns. Came in as an insanely big favorite, minus 490. And I guess rightfully so, but this was a no bet for me because the money line was too big. Like, obviously Burns would win. I'll be real, man. Masvidal's a promoter. Masvidal can sell these shit out of a fight because, like, between what he said on Rogan and what he was saying in all the embedded. Like, the Masvidal Rogan episode was lit.
Yeah, and he didn't fight anything like that. Violencia.
Exactly. He fucking kind of sold me, though, that he was going to come out here and make it a scrap. And I'm like, all right, well, if it's going to be a scrap, then I'm already out on minus 490. Minus 490 is for like steamrollings. You know what I mean? Hamzat, Kevin Holland style. You know what I mean? You can't lay the minus 490 even in a parlay if you think it's going to be a scrap. And, like I said, Masvidal, he didn't sell me enough to bet on him like Drake's dumbass, but he did sell me enough to be like, I thought it was going to be competitive, and I'm framing this in the past tense because it was not.
Drake cleaned up on Izzy though, so I mean, at least he got that in the bag. But like, yeah, for Masvidal to be out there talking about like how he's going to be so violent, like "lo voy a matar," like I'm gonna kill him, like, you know what I'm saying, like really like preaching, like he was saying everything in Spanish and English, like really trying to sell, like, and
he did though. He wasn't trying to sell, like he did, like he low key. I don't want to say he convinced me, but he like got me to second guess the minus 490.
And honestly, the embeddeds, like he looked like he was working hard. Like he trains with Johnny Eblin, who like I think could be a top 3 middleweight right now in the UFC.
Yes.
Like Eblin's a fucking dog.
Eblin beats Vettori and Cannonier and guys like that.
Yeah. Like I think Whitaker and Izzy and Hamzat are like the 3 guys that Eblin like is like dogging it out with.
I agree.
Which is crazy to say. Quick side note, and that is his training partner. So like, you know, number 11 Masvidal, number 5 Burns. Here are the 2 things I hated and why, if I was a rich man, I'm betting $1 million on Burns. Masvidal said, if I lose...
Yeah, you were steadfast. You were steadfast all week. I even tried to bounce a few little ideas off you. You would have bet your left nut on Burns.
Yeah, 100%. Now, granted, Masvidal showed up more than I thought he would. Like, I'm just going to throw it out there. But clearly not enough to, like, not justify what I'm saying. But if you had $1 million and you're going to get back $200,000, bet it here. The reason being... Masvidal's talking about if I lose, I'm going to retire. I
Yes.
fought for 20 years, and then if you saw his fight picture, like 2 weeks out, in his official picture, he looked pudgy as shit. Like it looked like his body's starting to like get old.
Agree. And like, I love daring more plates, more dates, but now everybody in the world thinks they're more plates, more dates. And like, everybody, like, I saw comments like, oh, Masvidal's got HGH gut. And I was like, that looks more like a KFC gut
That
than an
looks more like
HGH gut.
he's fucking 38. Like when you
Yeah.
get old, that's how your body starts to get shaped.
Yeah. Like, saw Roy Jones Jr. fighting Pettis. And, like,
Bro,
obviously, that's an.
honestly, also, did you see the paydays they got? Roy Jones Jr. got 700 grand. Pettis got 650
Yeah.
grand. Like people got paid. So for
Yeah, they
Masvidal to be
did.
paying guys like that, like the UFC needs to take some fucking notes here.
I'll say, we have to pay somebody once a year or once ever. It's easier to do.
Fair.
Masvidal's not having to pay those guys that price 3 times a year, 4 times a year.
Well, and he's not a big enough name to justify not paying them to show up. You know what I mean? Because like there's no
Yeah,
prestige
because there's
in it.
nothing else in it. Yes, for sure. So a little bit, but back to this Burns Masvidal fight. The reason why we're talking about everything but the fight wasn't really competitive.
Low key
The fight
snoozy.
I really didn't enjoy it because, like, in the first 2 rounds, they were okay. Only okay if you just like enjoyed watching Masvidal eat bombs, which like because Burns was landing bombs in the first 2 rounds, and they were hurting Masvidal. And Masvidal, he would try to play it off with sticking his tongue out or doing one of these numbers, and it was just fugazi. Like it didn't come across as badass to me. It came across as like inept. Like it's only like badass if you lick your own blood and then swing some bombs of your own, or do one of these and then counter. Like you don't cool if you just like lick your lips and do these. If you just like you don't throw back and you're just eating more bombs. You know what I mean? It's no longer cool. Like you're almost like being your opponent's hype man, like making hit. Like I don't know.
Well, it's kind of what we were talking about, right?
Cool
Like
or bat BMF. It came across as like kind of cringe. Like, how about you just defend the shots? Like,
it's kind of what we were talking about, though, right? Is it like Masvidal's just kind of gimmicky now? Like he's past his prime. He doesn't have his speed. He has to rely on like baiting people in, playing mental games. Like he just doesn't have the physical.
Slow.
He doesn't have the physical attributes anymore
slow.
to be who he used to be. He's a shell of himself. I mean, did you?
The chin? The chin is not gone. Like his chin
is not
ain't cracked.
gone. Chin is not gone. And I think his power's still there. He just can't land without the speed.
Yeah.
Now,
on a guy like Burns. Burns is a fast welterweight.
Did you score any rounds to Masvidal?
Hell the fuck no. Like, essentially how I view this fight, Burns outstruck him the first 2 rounds and then kind of just wrestle fucked in the 3rd round.
Yeah, but Burns also got takedowns in rounds 1 and 2 as well.
He did that, slipped my mind. I said no notes here.
Sorry. Sorry, Allie just got home.
You're good.
They got a little excited.
You're good, bro. But so the way you asked that question made it sound like a judge gave a round to Masvidal.
Yeah.
Third?
The first.
I mean, I guess that was his best round if you want to make that argument. But
I don't know. I thought it. Yeah, maybe. But it was sure. So I had competitive first round that Burns had the only impactful strike, like a big strike. He had the bigger moments as far as the body lock takedown to end the round, and the big strike, and the small amount of ground and pound he got off there at the end. Like, I just thought that, how the fuck did anyone score a round for Masvidal is kind of what I thought.
I agree. I was like, I didn't. I wasn't competitive enough. Like, it just. Masvidal, like, looking good was him, like, getting knocked out or, like, stuffing a takedown. Like, he didn't really get any offense off it. I mean, he landed a couple shots, but he never really, cracked Burns. Like, it wasn't like Burns Hamzat where it's like, oh, this can go any way.
No, I fully agree with you. It was pretty obvious, like, oh, this fight is very one-sided, and it's what. And honestly, Burns is going to win the fight however it wanted to be, standing or on the ground. It seemed like he was better in almost every facet.
I gotta say though, Burns by decision was plus 150 on a minus 490. I was this close to pulling the trigger on that. I almost did.
I didn't know if Jorge would be able to make it, but if you had, I would have given you big props because like the nuts to say Jorge survives all 3 rounds is like that's where that. Well, I don't know, man. We probably should have taken that because it's like we're saying we know Burns is gonna win. Like we're just we would just had to bet on the dog and Jorge, and we've only seen him get like put out like twice. So
yeah,
damn, we might have taken that.
I was close. I think Burns by sub was like plus 340.
I see. I wanted to get that, but I felt like I was being greedy.
Me too. But so like the plus 150 decision might have been the sweet spot there. Hindsight's 2020, right? Time travelers are all good gamblers. But I don't know. So Masvidal retires, and rightfully so. I mean, that's 4 L's in a row. I mean, he was just gonna. He went from main events to co-main events. Like we weren't trying to see Masvidal fight Jim Miller on a prelim. You know what I'm saying? Like it was time. He has other things going for him. His boxing fights are badass. He has the bare knuckle MMA promotion. I mean, he's doing fine. It seems like seemingly he's doing fine. And then Burns, I honestly kind of like his move. So he called to be the backup fighter for Covington Edwards. I thought that was a good move. Multitude of reasons. If anybody's jumping Colby, it's not Gilbert Burns, right? It's like there's a few people that could do it, none of which are Gilbert Burns. And gets in the backup spot. Guess who loves pulling out of fights? Leon Edwards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Burns coming to be gas, especially 5 rounds.
And then Colby, coming off the brain injury or the tooth or the what have you, he hasn't fought in a minute, right? He hasn't made 170 pounds in a minute. Not that he cuts that much weight, but I'm just saying, like, there's opportunity there for a backup fighter to probably be needed, and Burns matches up with both those guys. Burns could definitely out-grapple Edwards, and Burns Colby is a heater. Like, there's no either way, and no matter how you look at it.
All right. Can I give you like my ideal breakdown of welterweight? Because I thought about this after I found out that he wanted to be the backup. All right. So let's say he gets to be the backup for Covington Edwards, which is clearly signed. Hamzat's not in welterweight, so he's out. So effectively, Bilal's number 3, Burns is number 4, Shavkat's number 5. I want to see essentially Bilal. I don't think he needs to keep fighting. Like I think what is it they say they have targeted for him? Shavkat, right?
First it was Shavkat. I have a sneaky suspicion may end up being Usman.
See, I like Shavkat Usman, and I think Bilal kind of just gets to sit. And if Burns doesn't get the Edwards Covington fight, then like they should like tentatively book Bilal with him.
Because so whenever the Covington fight was announced, Bilal was up in arms, and then he posted a picture where he had a meeting with Dana, and he was like, pretty much like everything's good now. And I think the only thing that gets Bilal to feel that way is Usman. I don't think telling Bilal, hey, you're going to sit and not make a paycheck for a year, gets him to post a picture with Dana White saying everything's all good. I think saying that he's fighting Usman, even if it's 9 months from now, he's fighting Usman on a co-main of a pay-per-view, that's enough to get Bilal to post a picture shaking Dana White's hand saying everything's all good.
Bro, the meme he posted of Bilal just dead underwater as a skeleton was so fucking good.
Covington's getting thrown up in the air by the death in the background. Everybody knows that classic meme format. But it's so true. Also, Bilal lately, he's been talking a little crazy, saying like, "Oh, I'll fight at 185 if I have to." He's calling out Sean Strickland and shit. So I don't know. I think Bilal really is just in like purgatory. He's in like top 5 purgatory where like nobody wants to give him a title shot. He's not trying to fight back. He really shouldn't after fighting back against Brady and starching him.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like, well, all
Like
this
I
is
don't think
herbs, like a Covington, Usman, Edwards, Shemaev shot.
really, honestly, like I think in a perfect world you do Bilal Covington, but apparently, like we talked about it before, like Covington's getting the title shot because he took a handshake deal to drop the lawsuit against Masvidal, which allowed them to make the Masvidal Burns fight and sell out the Miami arena. Like it was a lot of like moving and shaking.
I don't know if you want to go tinfoil hat and talk about maybe the forced retirement of Masvidal as well.
Yeah, as part of the contingency of that whole handshake deal. So, I mean, welterweight's fucking awesome. Is really the crux of all this, and you kind of can't go wrong. You kind of can't go wrong.
Do you
like
think
you really
Shavkat's
kind of
just
can't.
like dark horsing, just like sitting waiting?
See, I think Shavkat, in the context of could he be the best welterweight on earth?
Because he's got a fucking chin. Like we found that out in his last fight, and that was the only thing I didn't know about. And
Shavkat's never going to do anything to get himself that opportunity. Like he's not asking for it.
He just dominates dudes, though. Like he just dominates dudes. Like he just finishes everyone.
Yeah, I just think that he.
I mean, quite literally, doesn't not have a finish on his record.
Like Islam Makhachev, right? Where there was like 3 years where pretty much people were saying he was the best lightweight on earth, but nobody was really itching to get him a title shot. Nobody was really like he didn't really move the needle. He wasn't calling for it himself. I think essentially what I'm getting at is Shavkat's probably your welterweight champ in 2025. Like if I had to bet on one guy.
So you think loser of Covington Edwards maybe gets Shavkat? Like is that what you think they're going to target?
Yeah. Or
do you think Shavkat has to fight back for once? Like Shavkat, Sean Brady?
I mean, that would be conventional wisdom. Usually after you fight up, you fight back.
But it's just like if he just keeps finishing guys, like I guess he didn't finish Jeff Neal. Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. He got the choke in the late in the third.
Yeah. It may end up being, I guess Gilbert Burns said he wouldn't accept the fight, but he does accept fights. I mean, Shavkat Gilbert. Shavkat Usman makes a lot of sense, but also like
that's what I want.
I'm pretty convinced Usman and Bilal is going to happen. I'm pretty convinced.
Well, I wonder if Bilal gets to be the backup for Edwards Covington. I wonder if that's the deal. And then Burns gets to live in Foxville.
He didn't ask for that. Burns did. Burns asked for it.
Yeah, but maybe Bilal got that backdoor handshake where they didn't talk about shit, and Burns is asking for something that can't be asked for.
It's interesting. But the fact that we're having this conversation, like, that's good for business. That's good for all these guys. Like, all these guys' names. Like, if you're talking, remember lightweight was the star power division?
Oh, yeah. Welterweight's coming up.
It still kind of is, but, like, welterweight.
Usman not being the champion helps that division so much as far as, like, mix-up of matchups.
And Leon's, like, uber viral moment. Like, if Leon would have got the belt in the decision, he would have been, like, a non-famous champ. Between the headshot, the first the head kick, then the second one with the picture of the gun, like he's had these viral moments that like I feel like it works now. And then Burns is like a star now. Bilal is a star now. Like, yeah, people talk about Bilal like 2 years ago. He was fighting on Fight Night prelims and shit, and like that's true. But like 2 years ago, Hamzat was like in Sweden. You know, a lot shit changes fast. We didn't know who Shavkat Rakhmonov was 2 years ago. Like. That argument of like Bilal's not a star and Gilbert Burns, like these guys are these prelim fighters, like I think that's a false narrative. And I think Colby is a star, but I don't think he's as big of a star as he was 7 months ago. Shit moves fast, man.
We're gonna find out about Colby's star because Edwards isn't the biggest star either, and I'm very intrigued to see their pay-per-view numbers. For
sure. But we can keep it pushing here. Welterweight's fucking awesome. And
bantamweight's you know what else is awesome? You know what's not awesome? My wallet after this fight needed this.
Yeah, we Bet Yanez on parlays, right? Or did you bet a Yanez straight?
Straight.
Straight. I had Yanez on my parlay. We both loved Yanez over Font. We got Adrian Yanez. I think he was number 12. Rob Font, I was what? Number 6?
6.
And old Bob Ron, I mean,
He's got to be Rob Font after this fight.
He's Rob Font.
I mean, goddamn it.
I did literally almost yell Fabron at the TV though. Sugar's marketing on the whole Fabron.
He got him.
Worked.
He's broken. He broke the man. I'll never not think of him as Fabron.
He got Bisping to say "cum shot Shemaev" on Bisping's show, and then Bisping's like, "Oh fuck," and then Kobe's just like, "Gotcha." It's or Marty fake newsman
bro. That one's great. Tyquill,
Bob Ron is Sugar's version of that. It kind of stuck, but you're right. Real talk. Rob Font showed up and showed out.
Rafael Dos Nachos, Kobe's good with the nicknames.
The goat of nicknames.
Bro, what does he call Leon Edwards? He calls him.
I think he's the one that invented Leon Scott.
Leon Scott, that's what it is. He doesn't. He's nobody knows his name.
I don't get it. Oh,
nobody knows his name. He's if I say Leon Scott, you don't know a difference because nobody knows his name.
The worst one, but he is the good at that.
Bro, that's the most funny marketing though. That's hilarious.
So good. But that's what Sugar did with the whole Bob Ron though. What was the money line here? We got Bob Ron at plus 155.
Yeah, and Yanez minus 165.
65. Some websites have minus 180. So yeah, but we both liked Yanez. I mean, by all indications going into this one, it was the old guy on the way down versus the young guy on the way up, right? That's how Vegas looked at it with that money line. That's how we looked at it with our wallets. That we didn't think. It literally sounds weird to say Rob Font now. My muscle memory is but anyway, Rob Font, I don't think anybody thought he was bad at fighting. We just thought that probably his best days were behind him, and he's getting kind of fed to a young lion. Because Yanez is 5 fights in the UFC, 5-0, 5 bonuses, 5 finishes. I believe that's Shavkat level shit.
And 2 comeback finishes.
Yes.
I remember one of his fights, he got 10-8'd in the first, and then knocked the guy out in the second.
I did. Even as somebody who did part with my money on Yanez, I wasn't as bullish on it as some people were for the fact of he went from Tony Kelly to Rob Font. Was that the guy he fought last?
And Tony Kelly trolled Yanez hard.
And we've seen lesser fighters. We saw Randy Costa touch up Yanez, who's no longer in the promotion, who
that's
just posts scuba diving videos on Instagram and shit now. And he was touching Yanez's chin at will.
Also, Randy Costa is teammate of Rob Font. Just side note.
Wow, that's interesting. I didn't even connect those dots. Now that you mention it, that makes perfect sense. But bullish on Yanez. I did bet on him. I did think he was going to win, but that's I knew the possibility was there. And then I'll be real. Whenever the fight was starting and I saw these two guys next to each other, Rob Font was way bigger. I mean, obviously there's weight classes for a reason, and everybody weighed in 24 hours ago the same amount, but the muscles and the width of the back and the thickness of the neck and all that shit,
and
Rob Font was thick in there. He was thick.
No, he was thick. I also, as soon as I bet Yanez, and then I heard Tyson Chartier talk about his head coach talk about how Rob Font, after those losses, said that he changed his mindset about fighting and was it's not I have to do this, I get to do this. And anytime someone has powerful. That's a big deal. Appreciating where you're at, that is gonna make you be more in the moment.
I do that even just in my personal life. Whenever I I don't feel like going to work, and then I'll drive past a homeless person or something and be all right, I get to go earn a living and probably have some beers afterwards. This ain't that bad. You know what I mean? It's how you think about shit matters, dude. For sure.
Yeah, or nights in the at the bar where I know it's gonna be busy and then it is really busy. Those shifts go by so fast because it's exactly what I expected it to be. It's what I wanted it to be. You know what I'm saying? It's the exact opposite. Whenever expectation, when it meets reality, if they match, like that perception is so much different than when they don't.
It is funny talking about perception versus reality. When I was just about to say, like, man, the strike numbers seem pretty even, and I was like, well, fuck, I got the website. Let me look it up. So this fight only lasts 3 minutes, essentially 2 minutes 57 seconds, and the strikes were 33-25. So somebody got outstruck, but I mean that's pretty
Wait.
fucking
Rob
close.
Font was ahead. Well, he probably landed the
33.
last 8 when he finished it.
That's what I'm saying. So like as the fight was happening, it was tit for tat. However, Rob Font's tits were way bigger than Giannis's tats. Them, like because they would match strike for strike, but Rob, old Bob Ron
God damn, it's hard not to
that.
say Bob Ron. Like, oh man, broke me. Like, this is fucked.
He did. He just
God
he
damn it.
hypnotized me. He hacked my
Fuck.
brain.
Fuck.
But
15-0. 15-0.
well, yeah, undefeated Sean O'Malley.
Undefeated Sean O'Malley.
But,
future champ Sean O'Malley. The champ Sean O'Malley. No, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, Rob Font kind of proved like he's number 6, and that Yanez maybe got way too big of a jump in competition.
that jump was too big, and honestly, like, it's a big bantamweight, so maybe it may be a knee-jerk reaction to say that Yanez needs to like change his body, but like I think Yanez needs to pack on like 5 pounds of muscle. Nothing crazy, but he's kind of a small bantamweight. Like he's kind of a small bantamweight. Like this is the division of Aljamain Sterling and O'Malley's pretty much like
Cejudo's big
like,
as shit.
Yanez is small, dude. Like, and I'm not saying he needs to drop to flyweight, but like he doesn't really have pecs or nothing. Like he needs to hit some strength and conditioning and like just be a better like athlete. Because technique, that's what I'm saying. Technique. Every time Rob Font hit him, he hit Rob Font. Like Rob Font wasn't doing anything that Yanez didn't know how to do from like a technique perspective. It just he hit him like twice as hard. He would like spark him. Whenever Yanez was touching him, Yanez had a lot of success. Yanez, you could argue Yanez did everything that he wanted to do. It's just the power, the pop, the sting was just not there. It just didn't exist.
I also thought that this is kind of typical for Yanez, right? Like he gets touched up, and then like he counters big and lands a big like counter shot, and that's usually how he wins. Is his opponent gets overly aggressive because they think they're going to put him out, and then he sparks him with a huge.
But
counter.
a veteran like Rob Font, no, exactly, which kind of leads to the too big of a jump. Like the gap between Rob Font and Tony Kelly is like
huge.
I mean that's like USFL to NFL almost. Like it's like
yeah. Now I think like Yanez Martinez, that's a great fight. That's super fun.
Yeah, that's sick. I think so
Font
good.
Vera is good, except that's already happened, and Cheeto beat the fuck out of him, so we're not going to see that. Maybe Font Yan?
Weird.
Font Yan, although I think Yan like steamrolls him. That's probably what it is.
You could do Font Yan.
And then Marab Cheeto.
Font Cruz. Cruz versus Garbrandt does nothing for me. I thought that was such bad matchmaking. I'm like actually kind of salty about it because they're gonna put it high on the card and like tell me I'm supposed to be excited about it. Cruz Garbrandt 2 is a mistake. It's pointless. It doesn't move the division along. It's like a weird I guess you can call it a cash grab, but I don't know. Dude, I think it's a fumble. I think Rob Font Cruz was the move. I'll say Rob Font Song Yudong is probably the funnest fight to make, but it kind of doesn't really help Rob Font after already fighting backwards. But I don't know if they give him Yan. I don't know if they give him Cheeto. They definitely don't give him Cheeto because they just fought. And they definitely don't give him anybody higher than that. So it's either Yan or Song Yudong, and I think they're more likely to give him Song Yudong. Which Song Yudong might have a fight book too. Let me look that up.
I was going to say, what about Cheeto and Song and Font and Yan? And you make Font... And you make Font Yan a UFC fight night. You
could do that. because Jan is on what, like a 3-fight losing streak? Technically, it doesn't seem that way, but isn't he on like a 3-fight losing streak?
Yeah, he kind of needs to fight back. Like, he hasn't fought
He
back in a
kind of
long
does.
fucking time besides
You're right. He's
O'Malley. I
got
mean, he took the O'Malley fight, which is 1 versus 13, but, like, I guess he's fought back every time, but he keeps losing. So you don't get to fight up if you keep losing.
I agree. Yeah, you could do.
And that's not even a far reach back. Like, 4 and 6, like, it's kind of a reward. Like, you can't drop further back than 6.
Dong fought Cheeto back in 2020.
Fuck me.
Song Yadong, they get to the randomest matchmaking. But Cheeto Vera, Kyler Phillips, Casey Kenny, Julio Arce, Marlon Moraes, and Corey Sandhagen. But he has a bout confirmed against Ricky Simone. Actually, that's kind of an interesting one.
I
kind
like
of a
that.
bad matchup for Song Yadong.
I think the winner of that could get Fa Braun. And then Cheeto Yan would be super fun.
Right. I think that makes a lot more sense. I think we cracked the code. But man, I can't really say I'm disappointed in Giannis because he essentially just bit off more than he could chew. That was too big of a jump. I guess we got to do what's next for Giannis.
I think Jonathan Martinez is nice for him. That's a fun fight.
Yeah, because Chris Gutierrez fights somebody. Chris Gutierrez fights Munoz like next weekend, I think.
Yeah.
So that's kind of sick. Hopefully he starts as Munoz. I think he will. That's my lock of the week next week. I was looking ahead. It's not that big of a favorite, and I think it's a lockety lock. Like Gutierrez over Munoz. Because think about how Sean O'Malley was beating up Munoz before the weird contest or whatever.
I think Gutierrez
and like similar style.
Yeah, same weapons except maybe better kicks.
I think Gutierrez, maybe even by knockout and get some juice on it and just be greedy.
Yeah, because Munoz likes to counter strike in the pocket, whereas like if you're throwing head kicks, you're not in the pocket, so you can't be counter struck.
And Jonathan Martinez versus Giannis, I mean, that's a heater.
That's so fun.
That still gets pretty good card placement. I think you're right.
Now the real question, I guess, if we're talking about, I mean, we'll move on, but we've named every bantamweight besides Umar and Saeed. And they're not going to fight, but because Umar needs to fight up. I mean, who's Umar getting here? Like, is he getting the winner of Pedro and Gutierrez, maybe?
You know what? We may have just answered a question here. Maybe Umar gets Rob Font, and they're just like, hey, bro, we're not doing you any favors. Like, we don't want you as our champ. Fuck off or retire. Like, I mean, it wouldn't be a nice thing to do, but who else? Or do you do Jan? You just do Jan O'Malley again with Umar versus Jan?
No, O'Malley's sitting and waiting for the title shot, and Merab's going to fight Sandhagen.
No, I'm just saying how they made Jan fight 13 for O'Malley.
Oh.
You just make him do that again with Umar. That was what I was trying to say.
That'd be fucked. No, they wouldn't do it again to him. They'd make Cheeto
Would it be fucked if you're on a 3L streak? Like, can you get fucked if you're on a 3L streak, or you just have to say yes to whatever they give you?
Yeah, and technically that is a fight you should win. Like, that's a fight to get you back on track if you're 4 and you're fighting 11. Numbers would dictate that you should win and get back on track there.
Like, I wouldn't rule it out. And I'm sure Jan makes a lot of money. The UFC likes to get those guys up out of there. Like,
yeah.
I could see him feeding Jan to Umar. And because they want Umar in meaningful fights. That last name, Nurmagomedov, like.
You know what surprised me? I think sounds fun? Is if Garbrandt were to beat Cruz and you get Garbrandt Jan, that's surprisingly fun because I think Garbrandt gets like worked hard.
I'm so out on Garbrandt. Like people, he got a win under his belt. Did you watch that fight? That fight was ass.
I heard he broke his hand in the first round though.
We got a Garbrandt mark over here.
I just heard that. I
heard Harrison has an appointment to get a throat tap next week and just fucking move to Sacramento. Just fucking the most Garbrandt.
Big throat tap guy. You know me.
The most Garbrandt dude over here. But no, let's keep it pushing because Holland Ponzinibbio is worth talking about, bro. We got Kevin Holland minus 245. Big mouth, big name, big fights on the main card. Taking on Santiago Ponzinibbio, who's known for putting on exciting bangers. This was a no bet for me because it shouldn't have been. I overthought it. Kevin Holland. I've been a Kevin Holland mark for a minute. I've lost a lot of money betting on Kevin Holland.
Recently, If you'd done it in the first 5, you would have won.
Yeah, but like I like Kevin Holland as a guy. I follow his career closely. I like Kevin Holland.
So
I'm a
you
Kevin
don't think
Holland
level
fan.
of competition was a big deal here? Because I think Santiago Ponzinibbio is a big jump down from where Kevin Holland's been fighting.
You know what, bro? I was so confused. Like I didn't know what Kevin Holland level was. I didn't.
Well, it depends
Like I was trying to assess it. I was trying to assess now. And Kevin Holland's level versus a striker, which Ponzinibbio is way higher than Kevin Holland's level versus a wrestler.
Like
so
the Hamzat shit was like
and
embarrassing.
Vettori and
like,
Brunson.
But honestly, the Wonder Boy performance was tremendous. If you think about Wonder Boy is a great striker, and Kevin Holland got finished because he broke his hands.
Let's not forget, it was one of the dumbest things we've ever seen inside the sport.
Then he made an agreement not to take him down.
So against the best striker in the division.
That's my point. Is so it's more of a personality battle.
It's like irresponsibly bad fight IQ, and so that's why it wasn't so much as I guess you could say I was out on Kevin Holland, but not as a fan, but as a I don't know how to juxtapose this guy. I don't know how to handicap this guy, and he was getting Vegas loved him at -245, and you're right. Ponzinibbio is 37 years old, and he's a lower caliber fighter, and he's unranked, and he's the smaller guy. But also, if you ask me the question, what tier of fighter is Kevin Holland, I still don't know if I could give you an answer. Before Saturday, I definitely couldn't give you an answer. I was gun to my head. I don't know if I can get words out of my mouth. I don't know if I can answer the question of because he's unranked.
I was all over.
I mean,
because here's why.
You were.
Here's why. I'll tell you why. It's not so much who is Kevin Holland, because I know exactly who he is. I know exactly what he's going to do. Every fight, or what he wants to do at least. It's more about what does his opponent want to do? Do they want to go for takedowns? Because if they do, fade Kevin Holland. There's a good chance.
Yes.
He can't fight against a guy that's going to be takedown heavy, pressure heavy, wrestling pressure heavy, I mean. Now, if he's fighting a guy that can wrestle but doesn't like to, that's a whole different thing, right? Because Ponzinibbio is not terrible at grappling, but he likes to be a forward pressure striker. Well, Kevin Holland eats alive forward pressure strikers. So this was just a matchup nightmare for Ponzinibbio. That's why I was book Kevin Holland all week.
No, and that I think I was I couldn't see the forest through the trees. My Kevin Holland fandom and previous disappointments and just the roller coaster that has been the last 18 months of Kevin Holland's career. I just I didn't know where we were at on the roller coaster.
And it's so weird because it has nothing to do with his skill set. It has everything to do with his opponents.
But also I think you're discounting the whole decision making.
Well, no, that's what I was going to say.
Fight IQ.
But that's not skill set. That's personality traits. You know what I'm saying? I don't know which Kevin Holland person I'm going to get, but I know his fight style.
Yes, as do I. But I factor in that person side.
Oh, it's a huge deal, right? The Wonder Boy is the biggest part of that, right? It's you can get takedowns, and you did get a takedown, and you let him up because you agreed. My bad, we agreed, no takedowns. It's don't make that agreement. That's the dumbest shit you could do.
Way better at jiu-jitsu than Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. So it's this guy sometimes literally loses fights almost on purpose, you could say. Or going back to the Vettori Brunson fights. They're identical. That's why I lump them together. You could argue he didn't even try to get off his back. He just accepted position for 25 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's
that's my point. If the guy can wrestle, mark it as a Kevin Holland loss. If the guy can wrestle but doesn't like to, mark it as a Kevin Holland win, unless the guy's a better striker. And then once again, back to the Kevin Holland loss column. That's literally how I see it.
Ponzinibbio's not a better striker than Kevin Holland.
Exactly.
No, bro, and
it's
honestly,
literally exactly how
that's
I see
a very accurate. You nailed it on the head with your breakdown. I was just trying to explain my reservation why I wasn't locking a guy I love who was a -250 favorite, and I still found a way to fucking have doubt. You know what I mean? But getting to the X's and O's, I mean, this fight was it made it to the third round, right? Yeah, and
it went
first two. I mean,
oh yeah, it was a finish. That's right.
It did get a finish. It was a late third round finish, but the whole fight. I mean, Kevin Holland was too long and too fast. And you can say that's an oversimplification, but it was a stand-up fight. I don't think either guy went for a takedown. There was really no clinching. It was
Yeah.
essentially a kickboxing match. And Kevin Holland was longer and faster and probably had the power advantage too. It was like the different kind of power, like convert speed to power and have good timing with it. But he was landing harder and cleaner. So, I mean, hard to say he didn't have the power advantage. Like,
I thought round 2 was close, but I still gave it to Holland.
yeah, me too.
Every judge had it 2018 Holland through 2.
Was Ponzinibbio landing the left hook? Was that
Yeah.
what he was kept? Yeah, he was catching Kevin Holland with the left hook, but to Kevin Holland's credit, he was eating it. Like he never got wobbled. He never got cut. He never.
If anything, Ponzinibbio's most effective strike was his low kicks.
Yeah, no, Ponzinibbio's. Yeah, he was. Which you're right. Kevin Holland
weren't
but
the
Kevin
most
Holland
effective,
could switch
though.
stances.
Yeah, right.
And
it didn't mean the most for him to land those.
Whether it was poker face or just they weren't that effective, like, yeah, Kevin Holland didn't let it stop him from what he was doing.
Agreed. I fully agree, man. Like I said, I had 2018 through 2. I'm sure you did too.
Yes.
Now, the shots that in the fight are awesome because it's like a leap in
Yeah.
left hook, which you know who's famous for that. Like, literally, it's like an iconic move is Roy Jones Jr. Like the leap in left hook. People used to say that
You're
Roy
right.
Jones Jr.'s left hook was his jab. That's literally what. It's the same thing we saw. Was like that quick step in left hook, short left hook. I mean, just rocked Ponzinibbio, dropped him like on his face. Holland
Landed him, yeah.
Holland landed what 1 or 2 after that, and then pulled off. And then Ponzinibbio got up and was mad about the stoppage. And it was like, bro, you just woke up and he stopped hitting you. Like, you need to be quiet.
Yeah, Ponzinibbio was wild, and which I mean, it's adrenaline. I'm sure he knows 24 hours later, like it was a knock.
It seemed like
I'm
as
not
soon as
trying
he
to
saw
be
it
too
on the
hard on
screen
Pon.
too, he like quit like pestering Margotto and was like, all right, I'm being a dick.
There's a lot of emotion involved as far as like Ponzinibbio's close to the end. He knows he doesn't have too many left. He like that may have been his last fight. Like he didn't say it was, but like it may have been. You never know. He may get cut. He
Probably
may.
close to
We
it.
don't know what his con.
Probably
Yeah,
close
you know
to
what
it.
I'm saying. So I'm sure there was a level of frustration as far as that goes. Kevin Holland, I mean, and I thought DC made an interesting point that, like, 'cause I don't watch a lot of boxing, so like this slipped my mind. Like DC made the point where, like, if you apparently, and I didn't know this, I didn't because in MMA it doesn't matter if you fall frontwards, backwards, it doesn't really matter. But like in boxing, if you get knocked out and fall on your face, like if you go face
They'll
first,
just stop it.
stop it. There's no even 10 count or anything. So yeah, I mean, kind of case closed there, and yeah, definitely a stoppage. Not only was it a stoppage, it was a highlight stoppage. I thought Kevin Holland got screwed on not getting a bonus here. I
Yeah,
thought
the
that's a
bonuses
little
were weird because, like, I thought there was a guy in the prelims that deserved a bonus as well. I thought they were stingy with bonuses.
Did Adesanya not give a bonus?
Yeah,
I don't
he
think
did.
Adesanya.
Yeah, he
He
did.
did?
Yeah, he
Oh,
did.
yeah, yeah.
He
Sorry.
did, and so did Fabrant. And then Fight of the Night comes on the prelims as well.
Yeah, but I mean, so I feel you. It's tough to give 3 performance of the nights, all on the.
Nah,
and he was a
bullshit.
big
On like
favorite.
fight nights, they've given like every finish gets a bonus. Like that could have been this card.
Well, as far as highlight finish goes, like I'd rather watch the Kevin Holland highlight than the Rob Font highlight.
I agree with you. Like
Visually,
most of the fights that ended in a finish were like sick finishes.
You're right. That was a good point. But Kevin Holland, man, I mean, listen, we say that he's actually done or just virtually done and irrelevant. It doesn't really matter. So we don't want to spend time talking about Ponzinibbio here. But I feel like Kevin Holland's worth talking about what's next for him.
Well, I have an
Michelle
issue-
Pereira has a fight booked against somebody. I forget who it was.
Chiesa, right?
Is it Chiesa? Well, Chiesa just pulled out of a fight.
Oh, maybe that was it. I have a super interesting question though. Masvidal retires, so 11 is vacated, so everyone moves up 1. Are they going to put Kevin Holland at 15?
15. That makes more sense than probably anything I was going to suggest. 1 second. I'm going to look up Michelle Pereira.
And honestly, like the WME Endeavor like marketing machine might like whisper these journalists in, you know what I'm saying, in the dark cobwebs of night and say like put Kevin Holland at 15. It helps us sell fights with his name.
It does. And it's not like he's not the
He's not
15th best
undeserving of
guy.
15. Like, he could
Yeah,
fight at 15 and be the gatekeeper for the rankings. I'm totally fine with that.
1,000%. He's a good fighter.
Low-key makes
Yeah, so
sense.
Pereira's matched up with Wonder Boy, which is low-key kind of sick. Kind of pointless, but also kind of sick.
Oh, that'd be so fun, though. Such a fun fight.
That'll be
I
awesome.
think Wonder Boy starches him.
I did too. I'm going to be betting Wonder Boy for sure. And then it was Chiesa. Chiesa, I'm going to look at him up real quick because he was matched up. See, I also think
Chiesa Luke.
He was matched up with Li Jingliang.
Jiang, yeah.
And that's a good matchup though. Stylistically, like that's a good matchup.
Oh, I bet I'll bet
the,
Jing Liang gets 15. Now,
I think he had
Jing Liang
15.
Holland would be super fun because that wasn't originally a matchup that was supposed to happen, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm down for that. I'm down for Holland Leach. Hey, Jack Della Maddalena and high on the card.
Super fun.
Big fight.
Yeah, I think Holland kind of struggles with that too, but that's like his bread and butter is a guy that's not going to really wrestle him.
Striker can't ask for more than that. Like I bet he'd rather have Jack Della Maddalena than Chiesa or probably Leach.
It's what he'd ask for, but let's keep it pushing. Let's finish up this main card here. Let's get the hype train off the rails.
Fucking East Palestine. Go full East Palestine off the rails.
I like where we're headed. So we're going back to bantamweight. We got Raul Rosas Jr. minus 240 versus Christian Rodriguez plus 200. Rosas Jr. 18 or 19 years old at this point.
18 still.
18 still. Infamously known for being the youngest fighter in the UFC, for having like a bunch of pro fights in Mexico from the age of 16 to 18 because it's legal there, but in most places it's not. I guess Russia and Mexico probably are the two places. Now, that being said, the hype train's huge. The UFC wants to sell this kid so bad. He's got Crimson.
They put him on the video game. There's so many fighters whose names that you know that are not on the video game, but this kid is.
Agreed. He's got Crimson Chin disease. And I will say that, like, he's an okay striker with, like, a good wrestling approach and, like, really good jiu-jitsu.
Striking's ass.
But, like, yeah, very elementary striking.
I'm out on his striking.
I agree with you. Now, that being said, this was a fight, like, meant to be, like, a test, but also kind of like a... So the guy that was doing the UFC... And this is why I want to give so much credit to that franchise radio piece I listened to. The guy that was talking about it was like, if you think about the UFC and how they're marketing him, it's his second fight in the UFC, and he's on the main card of a major pay-per-view. And they're giving him a solidly tough test. So it's one of those questions of, are they trying to give him a guy that's, like, easily going to build his name and, like, make his record good? Or are they giving him a guy that's, like, a legitimate test and they don't really care about his name more so than they care about, like, being able to build either one because they see a big future in Rodriguez on the backside? Now, I think the latter is true here.
See, I think that's being generous. I think this was supposed to be a feeding. I think Dana Rosas marked. I think Dana really believed in this kid. I thought he had him one.
Well,
and
here's what I'll say is that if Rosas is who they thought he was, this is a feeding.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it the way I'm saying it. Like, I think Dana or Mick Maynard, whoever the fuck put this fight together, was drinking the Rosas Kool-Aid and was trying to give him the O'Malley treatment and get him a big highlight win, maybe even a bonus on a pay-per-view. And it's like, okay, now we're off and running. We got an 18-year-old guy who's gotten a finish on a pay-per-view and bonus and probably cut a sick promo afterwards, and we're off to the races here.
This was a Mick Maynard fight. You're correct. Sean Shelby's like the middle core of the weights.
I'm super stoked the franchise was talking about the UFC. Not trying to shit on that. I don't believe that there's any kind of like plan B of making C-Rod a star. I could be wrong. Time will tell. I just don't think.
Well, the guy was just saying like that's the effect of C-Rod winning is that he can potentially steal Rosas's like like clout because all the people that are tuning in to watch Rosas are gonna be like, oh, here's another Mexican guy that is a better fighter than we thought. Is still really young. Is still really good. Like there's a lot of intangible build.
This way, Jared Gordon isn't a star for beating up Patty.
Well, he didn't win the fight, so.
But let's get to it real quick because round one, Rosas Jr. essentially just like lets the game plan be known that like, all right, I'm going to spam single legs, and Rodriguez was defending them.
Well, the first round, like Rosas was able to get a takedown, able to get on the ground, was able to get on the back, threaten the chokes for the longest. Rodriguez did a great job of defending him. And maybe Rosas kind of blew his wad in that first round, like really going for it, thinking he had it. Credit to Rodriguez
I thought he
for
blew
surviving.
his wad in the second round, early in the second round, when he just started spamming the single leg. That's
going for takedowns and not getting him because he was getting stuffed, and then you could see it like dragged on him too hard. And then C-Rod dominated the second round from there on out. Like I had 19-19 after two because I gave the first round to Rosas, but like if you were watching
the first.
If you were watching the fight, it was almost like, oh, well, I know who's going to win this fight. Like, even though it was 19-19, it was like, I know Christian Rodriguez will win this last round. Like, Rosas was, like, too tired, had an ineffective game plan, like, had nothing on the feet.
So limited, right? It looked like he, like...
Looked like an 18-year-old.
He did. And, like, not to dunk on him. That's to really dunk, like you were saying earlier, like, that's the dunk on the promotion for trying to sell us that this guy was the next big thing.
I gave Rodriguez a 10-8 in the third. I thought he dominated start to finish and got good damage off. I didn't think Rosas did anything in the third. Now, granted, no judge agrees with me, but I was just like...
I do. I would have given it a 10-8 because he controlled the whole round and got off plenty of damage.
Yeah.
So it's
and was never in any, like, threatening position. Like, he was never threatening.
No, Rosas got zero offense off. Like,
exactly.
Zero. Like, yeah, it wasn't like the most gnarly 10-8 of all time, but like...
Yeah, it's like a 28-14 quarter is like, I still won by 14, but a 14-0 quarter looks a lot more dominant, if that makes sense.
Or just like a verdict like 8.9 or like 8.8 or like, you know, like it wasn't a huge like 10-8, but yeah, I think if we give him a 10-8 there, you're not a crazy person. The thing is, I'm not necessarily out on Rosas. Just they did mismanage him. They did. Like, honestly, but you could argue his coaches mismanaged him. Like, his coaches should have gotten more experience. Like, his coaches were probably trying to get paid and trying to get some clout. And an 18-year-old trying to get some clout and try. And you can't put it on the 18-year-old to say no to the UFC.
Well, he talks crazy too, right? Like, he says crazy shit, which I guess he should.
Because he's the 18-year-old. But that's what I'm saying. You should have a handler who should be your coach.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, the guy can't buy a drink because he can't, like, make decisions properly. Like it's like he could have probably gone and won an LFA belt. Or
right,
competed in some grappling tournaments or like taking a fucking Muay Thai match and just gotten experience.
So my biggest takeaway from this is the UFC kind of is like blowing the load on stars too early. Like, they're not letting people get developed. You don't develop in the UFC. That's the final proving ground. Like, you need to be who you are.
Like Rosas, I mean, hell, there's a chance which granted, I don't think PFL has bantamweights, but you see the point. Like, Brandon Loughlin is the 45-pound champion. Like, Rosas could have gone and won like $1 million in a PFL belt. Maybe. Maybe Loughlin beats him. But you see what I'm saying? Like, he really shouldn't be in the UFC. And that's not to say like, oh, this guy's not UFC caliber. It's to say that, like, I mean, like we were joking about it earlier, like the Sage Northcutt syndrome. Like, it's just not his time. He's not there yet. It's just like if you took even Josh Allen, physical freak, right? But his sophomore year of college, he would have made a terrible NFL quarterback. Like, I mean, there's any number of comparisons you can make kind of in that same wheelhouse. You know what I mean? Like, pick your sport, or like even baseball players. Baseball is probably the best example. even if you're the number one overall pick and you're a freak of nature that pitches 100, you're going to go to the minors for like 4 years if you're a stud. Most of guys are 5 or 6 years in the minors. And after that, you'll be an all-star. You know what I'm saying? If everything goes right for
Yeah,
you.
the only guys that come up after like 1 or 2 years are like generational talents in the MLB.
Yes, it's few and far between. And then it's usually not to like the third year, or like in basketball, the guys get drafted young,
Yeah,
but
get
like
drafted young and then develop.
exactly, nothing's really expected of you for 4 years. Like Raul Rosas should have been fighting on like prelims and shit like that for the next like 3 years.
He'd have been a great Ultimate Fighter kid. You know what I mean?
Yes, or something like that. 1,000%, 1,000%. Yeah, I just
I think
think
the UFC
it's
like kind of like blew the bag on this one. Like they have a kid that has a lot of skill, a lot of potential, and you asked him to be too much too soon, and like he can't really develop
we've
those
seen it
skills
happen
that
in every
well.
sport.
Yeah, well,
We've seen
yeah,
it
but
happen in every sport.
yeah, no doubt, man. But there's not a league that the UFC has that's a part of them that's lower. Like if he went to LFA, I think he'd gain a lot of valuable experience. But like it's not like a UFC affiliate league, you know. So like a G League would be good for the UFC.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Or like transition the contender series to that. Like the contender
Yeah,
series doesn't have to always be debuts. They're starting to do it. Bo Nickel fought on there twice. There's a couple guys that have fought on there twice. Like that, if it was like a G League, and like hell, you could do the contender series fights. Like replace the early prelims with that.
right.
So you're building,
It's a great
building start.
idea.
You're
Like your
killing two
roster
birds
may
with one
be
stone.
oversaturated right now, so let's
It is.
undersaturate it. You know what I'm saying? Like let's give me early prelims. They're all DWCS. So like the Dana White Contender Series early prelims, and then I get a prelim and a main card that's like a 9 to 10 fight card, and then you give me the DWCS as like a like 4 fight card. That's perfect.
I know, I agree. And you can reoccurring faces and maybe even have some crazy rule, like some PFL kind of style rule where it's like, hey, 3 finishes in a row and you get your contract in the octagon. Like,
Yeah, like automatic.
or automatic. Yeah. But like these DWCS guys who get one win, some regional guy, and like you're supposed to like come to the UFC and compete with the top 10. It's not a thing.
Easy way to sell the early prelims too.
Yeah, it's way better. The word early prelims is just redundant
Well,
and
and
kind of
asking me to
cringe.
watch like 7 hours on a Saturday and then 2 hours on a Tuesday, like that's a lot, man. Like you're asking for a
Yeah,
lot.
for sure, bro. So like I said, I'm not really out on Rosas, and I'm not trying to dunk on the young man or kick him while he's down. It's just that where he goes from here. Where like he's obviously gonna get like another like some random bantamweight, but cool. Like it's so hard to like go backwards and then go forward again. When as opposed to like just keeping him like keeping the dog off the leash. The dog's been off the leash, got bit back, and has to like start running again. And I don't know. It's like I said, the Sage Northcutt. We've seen it happen before, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a tough spot for the UFC, but it's their own fault. Like they did that shit.
Yes,
You know what I'm saying?
they did for sure, bro. And man, yeah, this has been a fun one. It was a fun card, UFC 287. Like I said, leave us a comment if you're watching, and just if you liked us going main card first, main event first, kind of going backwards on the card as opposed to going in the order we watched them. Love to hear some feedback on that. On the Beefy Boys Breakdown, we go over every single fight on every single card every single week, and we're the only show out there doing that. So just please show your support, hit some like buttons, hit some subscribe buttons, and follow us on Twitter at Beefy Breakdown.
Yes, sir. We will see you guys for